Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the DLF Trade on the DLF YouTube channel. That was a little too emphatic. I almost hurt my neck on that one, but that's how excited I am, and that's how hyped I am, and you'll get why that's funny in a second. Russ and Addison here, as always, to use the DLF Trade Finder, DLF Trade Analyzer to your benefit, really, is what it comes down to. We're here. I mean, we just have fun, and hopefully this is a little informative and infotainment or whatever. Infotainment, is that the word that the fancy people use? Informative and entertaining. Hopefully we're that.
It's like entercation or something like that is another one I've heard, or something
that too. I hope we're that also. But as I so gracefully and beautifully alluded to, we're talking about some camp hype, and I think no camp hype is stronger right now than is for Malik Nabers. My timeline has been flooded with pretty catches by Malik Nabers, and I really think more than anything, it's just that we're impressed he can catch a ball thrown by Daniel Jones.
That's probably true.
So even if it doesn't look like it should have been a difficult catch, it is a difficult catch because Daniel Jones is throwing the ball. Though I guess if it's Drew Lock, it's not that much better anyway. I think I'd still prefer Daniel Jones over Drew Lock.
I think I do. It's kind of like when George Pickens was making all those acrobatic catches because he had to, because Kenny Pickett's bad. So
right, which again, hopefully he doesn't have to deal with that. But let's Malik Nabers, who's really, really, really good. So like the hype is deserved. He should be. He's wide receiver 9, which feels a little strong to me.
Yeah, I noticed this. JJ Zacharyson actually just posted a thread about this, saying that for redraft leagues, Marvin Harrison and Malik Nabers are going at unprecedented ADPs for rookie wide receivers compared to even like Jamar Chase or any of the other top end rookies that we've seen come in. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Nabers have massive expectations on them for redraft for 2024. And I don't know if that's because of Dynasty or if that's because of their draft pedigree or what it is, or maybe the redraft is coming over to Dynasty, but the hype is massive for both.
Which makes me happy, because when they have a very good season, but not an elite season, people are going to get upset and want to sell them. And I will buy so much of it, even if it's not like a completely depressed price, even if it's just a little cheaper than it should be. Spoiler alert, my Trading Post article this week, which comes out the same day this video does, is on Malik Nabers, and man, his price. Thankfully, we did not use any of the same trades. So let's get into it. Let's see what Malik Nabers' price has become because of his hype. 12-team Superflex. Malik Nabers and a 25-second for Garrett Wilson and Luke Musgrave. Nabers at 533. 534 if we're rounding up. The second at 89 for a total of 623. Garrett Wilson, 633, so 100 points higher. And Luke Musgrave, 58 for a total of 691. So this is 691 on the Garrett Wilson side to 623 on the Nabers side. Like, Luke Musgrave isn't worth a second to me. Is he worth a second to you?
Nope.
So, like, this is pretty much... Let's pretend that second is just 2/3. So this is pretty much Nabers and a third for Garrett Wilson. And if that's the case, I'm taking Garrett Wilson every single time. Like, this was one of the conversations I brought up in my article, where tiering down is usually the right move, because your normal expectations is to get like 80% of the production, plus you're getting something good on top. This isn't a lot of good on top to tear down from Garrett Wilson. And not to mention that Garrett Wilson is 24. So it's not like if you're rebuilding, you need to get younger. Like, you build around Garrett Wilson. Like, the only thing I could think of is if you're calling this a reroll and you're like, Garrett Wilson hasn't done it yet, and I'm fine moving on from him. That being said, I still think you should have gotten more.
Yeah.
And let me just put it out there. If we took Musgrave out of this, I'm still taking Garrett Wilson.
Yes, agreed. This was a very popular trade-up situation where Garrett Wilson was a popular trade-up from Nabers a couple of times over the past 2 months.
I saw Marvin Harrison Jr. for Nabers in a second, and
yeah,
like, and those Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. are valued very similarly. So, and I said the same thing.
Puka is another handful of them too. It's like those three are like the trade up option for Nabers.
Yeah, and they're probably wide receivers like 5, 6, and 7, or 6, 7, 8. Like they're probably all right there next to each other. But still, I would rather take Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, or who was the other guy you said? I completely forgot. Marvin. I said Marvin Harrison Jr. I forgot who I said. Good job, Russ. Yeah, like when the other piece is a second, I would, because seconds are just
so. Like, the most recent trade for Malik Nabers, when you type his name in the trade finder, that happened 2 days ago, was Nabers and a 25 first for Garrett Wilson.
Yeah,
I didn't use that because I felt like the first swung it too hard back to Nabers because I feel like they're close enough.
Well, that feels right to me. And the only reason I'm good with that is because I feel safe and confident in what we've seen from Garrett Wilson with complete trash quarterbacking, that hopefully we get 2 years out of our Aaron Rodgers. If not, hopefully they go vet quarterback and not rookie, because it looks like bringing in Aaron Rodgers show they want to compete, in which case, why go back to a rookie after this, even if Rodgers is only a 1-year thing? So that's my hope. My hope is that they stick with vet quarterbacks, in which case sky's the ceiling. Like we can say, I'm good saying I'm good with Garrett Wilson as a top tier wide receiver. And so that's why the first, like, that feels right. That's what it would need to be for me to consider it.
Funny enough, my production comp for Malik Nabers has been Garrett Wilson for the start of his NFL career. Like,
he's in line for just as many targets. It feels like
that's essentially, like, Garrett Wilson has had like 300 targets or something over the past 2 years.
Yeah, he has the most ever, right, in the first 2 years.
Something like that. And back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons
with Darren Waller gone and
Saquon Barkley's gone. Barkley.
Oh, right. I was about to be like, and this guy as the next pass catcher, but I legitimately couldn't think of it.
Wandale.
Wandale still. I like Wandale. I hope he stays healthy. But still, like, it's going to be the Malik Nabers show for sure. So let's move on to the next trade. All right, still 12-team Superflex. Malik Nabers for DJ Moore, Ramondre Stevenson, and Jerome Ford. Well, this answer is going to be just Malik Nabers. I mean, there's Malik Nabers at 533.6. The other side is at 532.8. I know your Ramondre feelings are more than mine. And I know this is clearly a rebuild versus competing. But I don't think we're going to see the production from DJ Moore that we did last year, bringing in Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze and a rookie quarterback. Put that on top of Ramondre he'll probably be good. I know you have him higher than I do. And Jerome Ford, while again, it looks like he's going to workhorse at the beginning of the year, he workhorse last year and he didn't really do anything with it. So, these are three guys I feel pretty, I'm a little more than meh on DJ Moore. Like, I'll say that. Like, he's good. We know he's good. So that's fine. But, like, those two running backs are very meh to me, in which case I don't think Nabers and DJ Moore are close enough for me to feel meh about the other two pieces. So this is pretty, like, I would love to send these three players for Malik Nabers. Even on a competing team, I would love to sell that.
Yeah. No, I do. I agree with that. I would take Malik Nabers on this regardless of the position of my team.
Yeah. Even if you wanted to then flip Nabers for something else, I think you'll get two better pieces than you could for selling more Stevenson and Ford otherwise.
That's basically like if I was looking at this and critiquing the trade in terms of how could it have been better if you were selling Malik Nabers, is I would like to do a wide receiver and a running back combination. This is like good in theory, wrong in practice, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm me, so I didn't prepare for this, so I didn't pull any of the values up. But like a running back that's at that 215 value area, I don't know any off the top of my head that might
Josh Jacobs or Derrick Henry or Joe Mixon are like right around him in ADP.
Yeah, exactly. So if I'm competing and I was worried about Nabers for some reason, DJ Moore and Derrick Henry.
I think Moore needs to be better. I don't think it's the running back.
Yeah,
I think Moore
needs to be better. Yeah,
Moore needs to be Waddle or Nico.
Yeah,
I would love Nico
one tier higher.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on board. Yep, you got me.
It's the wide receiver. It's not Ramondre, because Ramondre you could just replace with a bunch of running backs and they all basically do the same thing. But it's the wide receiver. The crux of it is, I think, the issue.
Yeah, I like that. All right, so this next one has me shook. Justin Fields. We saw a reporter come out. I think it was Dan Granziano. I can't remember specifically. I read it yesterday and I completely forgot. Saying that Justin Fields, the QB battle in Pittsburgh is closer than people think, and it can be Justin Fields' starting position by the time the season starts. My SFB
starting
team
this weekend for their preseason game. He's starting.
It's preseason. So. Who cares?
Russell Wilson's been hurt, so Fields has been getting more reps, I think, with the starting team.
Yeah.
So, but I think if he does well in a preseason game, and based on some of the clips and stuff that I've been seeing from training camp and have been hearing from beat reporters in Latrobe, like it sounds like Fields has, like you said, like a decent shot of being the week 1 starter.
Would be very damaging to my SFB team.
You
Russell
put it
Wilson's
on
my
Russ.
QB too. Yeah.
Yikes.
Oh well. Okay, so let's talk about some Justin Field trades, because I've literally not. Anytime I've gotten an offer that involved me trading away Justin Fields, I end up rejecting it, because his value right now, it just makes zero sense to trade him away.
So in the trade finder, just to give this quick kind of like PSA on what's going on with him in the trade finder, these 2 trades I think are very fair for Justin Fields right now in terms of where I think his value is actually aligned with and where the analyzer think his value is aligned with. But there are almost 0 trades where Justin Fields I think is properly valued. He's either way overvalued, i.e. he got traded for DeAndre Swift straight up in a Superflex league, or James Cook straight up in a Superflex league.
Wow.
Or you go the complete opposite way and you have like Justin Fields for 2 4th-round picks in a Superflex league. And it's just like these 2 trades I feel like are middle ground, but there is basically no middle ground in like real league action, it feels like.
Yeah, my offers are usually valuing him around like a mid-second. And I'm like, at that point, I might as well just hope he starts one day soon.
Sure.
Next season. I need this season from Russell Wilson, please.
There you go.
All right, but let's see how we feel about these 2. 12-team Superflex, Jake Ferguson and Justin Fields for Geno Smith. Jake Ferguson, 93. Justin Fields, 44 for a total of 136. Geno Smith, 122.3. So for all intents and purposes, this is fair. This is fine. I actually like this a lot, because chances are Geno Smith is your QB3. And if that's the case, getting a tight end that you're going to start every week and then getting what the upside of Justin Fields can be. And again, there's hopes and prayers in that, it's not for sure, but I think I take the Ferguson side in almost every single instance. The only time. So here's the thing. Let's say I only have one quarterback, which I actually find myself in a couple of. Actually, that's a lie. Most of the teams where I only have one starting quarterback, I have Justin Fields on my team. I have a decent amount of Fields dynasty shares, but it's the SFB one that takes precedent over my Russell Wilson share, that takes precedent over everything else. Even if I need a QB2 on my team, I think at that point, I look for another position to put in my super flex spot and not Geno Smith, because while I like the idea of what the Seattle offense can be, I don't think it hits its peak with Geno Smith as its quarterback. So that makes me worried about him.
Mm-hmm.
And that could just be me. Like, that could all just be in my head or heart, whichever you think it's coming from. So I think I take the Ferguson Field side pretty easily on this. And Ferguson and Smith aren't that far apart on their own. It's 30 points away from each other. And I know it's super flex, so you should be overpaying because of there being a quarterback, but Geno Smith isn't really seen as a QB2 at this point anymore. So I don't think you really need, like, to me, seeing Ferguson for Geno Smith go down in a real league, I would just be like, okay.
Yeah. Especially if there are any premium or anything on it too, which there wasn't in this, but yeah.
So yeah, I'll take the Ferguson and Fields in pretty much every single instance on this one.
Just out of curiosity, I'm going to go up in the quarterback ADP, and you're going to tell me when you would make this deal for the single quarterback. So I'm going to replace Geno with a different quarterback.
Yeah.
And tell me when you want to do that. And it might start with this first one, Baker.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's Aaron Rodgers and Will Levis.
Aaron Rodgers, yes. Will Levis, no. I like the idea of Will Levis, but also, again, as like a QB3. Like, I like the experiment of Will Levis, but I don't think I trade away that starting. Again, I'm used to tight end premium leagues. So, like, Ferguson has a little bit decently more value in a tight end premium league. Like, to me, there's just as much chance that Justin Fields succeeds and there is as Will Levis succeeding, even though Levis is starting already. So I don't know if I bother doing that.
Bo Nix.
No.
And then you get to Stafford, Cousins, Bryce Young.
Yeah, I do for all of them because I think they're QB2s at that point.
Yep. All right.
And honestly, Bo Nix, if I was like full rebuilding, maybe I would want like a third on top for Bo Nix, but I don't hate that. Just not if I'm doing it for points, which is what it seemed like everything else was because we were talking about older quarterbacks. Right. But I don't hate getting Bo Nix in a rebuild.
No, I don't either. But I feel like at that point, it's kind of like I would rather just go for the upside of Justin Fields.
Which is why I said I want more. I need something coming back with it. Even if it's just like, I would love for it to be a second, or I'll add a third to make that a second. Like Ferguson, Fields in a third for Nix in a second. Again, that's arbitrary. See if that would actually math out. But like that's what I would need to happen for it to be Bo Nix. This next one is very interesting. It's just straight up Justin Fields for Zamir White. Fields in at 43.5, Zamir White 106.4. So it looks like we are valuing Justin Fields at around that, like more closer to that 80 to 100 mark. Do you have faith in Zamir White?
Nope.
That's my problem. And that's why, like, based on the hype that's going right now, I think I would do this, assuming I don't need Zamir White's points, because I'm sure he's going to score okay points. Like when we were talking about players to use for the hype, I almost said Dylan Lobby because he's getting a decent amount, but like the trades he would be in would be so minuscule. Yeah, like he's more of a piece of a trade than he is like a trade part. So I would pretty easily trade Zamir White for Justin Fields. If I need a running back for my competing team, I don't want to do it at the cost of Justin Fields, and I don't want it to be for Zamir White.
There you go. That pretty much boils it down. Like, I don't think Zamir White is on the list of trap players that I think people think is going to help them compete this year, but I don't think he's actually going to. You know, like Alexander Mattison, if he's Alexander Mattison 2.0, Alexander Mattison didn't help anybody compete last year. So Zamir's not going to help you compete this year if that is what he turns into. And yeah, I would just much rather have the shot on Justin Fields in a Superflex league. And like you said, like if I had Fields, I'm not going to Zamir White if Fields is my QB4 and I need an RB2. I'm not going to Zamir White. I'm going to try to find some other way. Like I'll add a second and go to Joe Mixon or Alvin Kamara or, like something.
I was about to say, wait till week 3 to one of those teams who has those older running backs realizes that they're not competing like they hoped they would. And then you get a little bit of a discount on the older running back.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do this though. All right. So I want you to introduce the next guy because this was your guy.
Oh yeah. Cooper Kupp. So Kupp has been getting a lot of training camp hype recently for the fact that reporters are saying that he looks back to his old self, that he's like finally healthy from the high ankle sprain that he suffered at the end of 2022. And then this lingering hamstring injury he had last year. Seems like Cooper Kupp is back to 100%. He's still the number one wide receiver on the team, or at least that's what it seems like, that the offense is still going to flow through him. He's taking all of the first reps. Like when wide receivers like do routes, like he's the first receiver on those. And then the icing on the cake was that we got this news that Puka Nacua is dealing with some sort of knee injury that it's not supposed to hamper him. It's supposed to be pretty minor and he should be back for week 1. But if that becomes a thing, like Kupp going right back into being like the top, he hopefully Puka's okay. But Kupp, I think, is a very underrated asset to go out and get if you are a hardcore contender this year, because his price seems to be a little bit deflated based on what happened last year.
All right, let's go. Let's get into the trades. The first one, 12-team Superflex. Cooper Kupp and Deontay Johnson for 25 first and Jalen Wright. Wow, this is pure compete versus rebuild. I love it. Cooper Kupp 201, Deontay Johnson 157 for a total of 358. 25 first, 280. Jalen Wright, 32 for a total of 312. I think I'm taking the players here. Like, I think the value is actually fine trade-wise because you're not really getting a first for Kupp anymore. So you're taking that little extra plus Jalen Wright for Deontay Johnson, which is still might be a little cheap for Deontay Johnson, but I get it. And then that almost a first for Cooper Kupp. It's a little light, but I think that's might be the best you can get. Maybe it's just because Jalen Wright is a little too low. But like maybe if that was, again, if you're into Jalen Wright or if that was like Lobby or Bucky Irving or someone who I thought had more path to touches this season, I would feel a little better about it.
Disrespect.
It's not right disrespect. I just think that assuming health out of Mostert and Achane, when is Wright going to see the field?
Well, you know what assumptions are, Russ.
I know, but I want them to be true. Again, this is I get to talk about the things I want. That's and those are things I want. I want Mostert and Achane to stay healthy this season. But also, I do think next year Mostert's probably gone and Jalen Wright's going to be the guy. So yeah, if you're rebuilding, getting in now is not a bad move because the second the idea of Mostert not being on the team anymore, Wright's value is going to go up. Yep. I mean, not sky high, but he'll be worth a second when he probably shouldn't be anyway. But I'm going to take the players here. I think both of these guys are going to score very well this season. I think Deontay Johnson has every chance to. Oh, look, is he in the Panthers uniform in the picture now? Nice.
Yes, he is.
He has every chance to be the safety blanket that he was in Pittsburgh for Bryce Young, who is better than he showed last year. Like that's that. I will stick to that. And yes, he is better than he was last year. So I would, if I'm competing, and this is my 25 first, I happen to draft Jalen Wright back when I was drafting, he was in the third. He pushed his way into the second towards later.
2-3 turn.
Yeah. I would send that pretty easily for Kupp and Deontay Johnson. Again, especially if it was right now, reading about Puka getting hurt and Cooper Kupp looking good.
Yeah. As a contender, I love this. Like you said, I would not send a 25 first straight up for Cooper Kupp as a contender. I feel like there's just a little bit more. And this is that little bit more that I was like, especially if you're trying to pull Kupp away from a team that's rebuilding or looking towards 2025 because they're taking on the first, how can you throw them another asset that is going to help them next year? And then you get just like a little extra something that could help you compete this year. Maybe it's not Deontay, but maybe it's, a different running back or something like a James Conner kind of running back that could help you this year. Or anybody else along those, or a tight end or something, this is like the perfect way that I would go about trading for Cooper Kupp is utilizing my first, but getting Kupp plus something a little extra that could help me compete this year. And if I got to toss something back to do it, then I would do that.
Yep.
Boom.
This last one. Whew.
Big boy trade.
Saquon Barkley, a 25 first, and Cooper Kupp for Breece Hall in a 25 second. Saquon Barkley, 376, the 25 first, 280, Cooper Kupp, 201 for a total of 858. Breece Hall, 667, the 25 second, 89 for a total of 756. So it's 3-2. We're overpaying, the 3 side is a little higher. Breece Hall, the clear stud of this deal, you're overpaying by 100 points, so pretty much a little over a second. I think I take the package here. Like when I looked down and I saw Breece Hall, I'm like, all right, I'm going to take Breece Hall. But then when looking at the players involved this year, I think you're going to get so many points out of Saquon and Cooper Kupp put together. Plus you get a first included. Like I don't care if I'm giving up the second with Breece Hall, as long as I get that first. I love Breece Hall. He is he's one of my top 3 RBs for Dynasty.
There you go.
But
RB2.
Yeah, I don't know what my order is for the top 3.
1B.
Bijan, Breece, and Bibbs. Sorry, I wanted them all 3 to be Bs, but Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't start with a B in anywhere, so it's Jahmyr Bibbs now.
Yep.
But and it doesn't matter because Christian McCaffrey is going to score as the running back 1 anyway, but Breece Hall has every chance to be the running back 1 after Christian McCaffrey. But still, that being said, I think you get so many points out of Barkley and Kupp, and you get that first to offset the age a little bit, that I think I take the package.
The package is super enticing. I think I would not have taken Saquon and Cooper Kupp for Breece Hall if that was just the trade itself. I think
it feels like that's what the original offer was, right? It feels like it was Barkley and Kupp for Breece, and the person came back and is like, look, let's do a pick swap, and then I'll be good with it.
Yeah, like you said, to offset the age a little bit and getting on. Because if Saquon and Cooper Kupp got hurt in any way and did not do well this year, their values would plummet.
And you will absolutely, if you want to use the phrase, you will lose this trade if they don't produce.
100%. And especially if Breece Hall is, like you said, like he could be like the RB1 after Christian McCaffrey. Like, yeah, this trade has avenues for how you could lose it pretty quickly by taking the package because of the age. But that second swap, even if you're looking at the teams and it feels like it might just be a handful
of 5
like
picks,
the 204 for the 110, that still is
a lot.
Feels like a win right now.
Value wise is very, very different.
A 1 is always better than a 2.
Even if it's only 2 picks apart, it doesn't matter.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I would take the package because of the first and second, but if I was just trading Breece for Saquon and Kupp, I think I would keep Breece.
All right. Well, sorry for the quick show, everybody, but meetings. Am I right? This has been the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. Russ Fisher, Dynasty Outhouse, Addison Hayes, @AmazeHayes_. We'll catch you next time.